do, fellow kids? I have this Darth Vader Black Series action figure. I want to say that this is the first Black Series action figure I have opened up on my channel. I might be mistaken because I have bought a few other ones. I don't think I've unboxed them, simply because I like having them on my shelf, in the box. But eventually, I usually open up my toys. I've sort of, so I'm an opener, but I've sort of decided that some toys I want to keep in the packaging if it's a retro package. If it's a Black Series box like this, I'm gonna open it because I want the figure. I guess there are other other possibilities. Some figures I've gotten. I'm not really big into Black Series. But I couldn't pass up Darth Vader. I'm not big into Black Series. There are a few figures that I really like that I've thought about like selling, just because I'm more into the vintage collection. I just rather prefer to play in that kind of 3 3/4 inch scale or 4-inch scale, depending. But anyway, so let's take a look. This is a great figure. Again, he's from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I don't know how he compares to other Darth Vaders. Obviously, there's probably been hundreds of Darth Vaders released in the Black Series line. This has the new, the new style artwork on the side. Very, very cool. Again, more artwork and information on the back. Let's take him out of the package. All right, we have unboxed our Darth Vader. It's so, like I said, this is my first experience with the Black Series action figures, and it's I'm speechless. It just seems very bare. It's just an action figure with one accessory. There's no alternate hands or heads or additional accessories or anything like that. It's just bare bones, which is, I think it does, color my idea of what these action figures should include. I definitely think that there could be more effort put into adding things, adding value to these action figures, especially with the Black Series. But that being said, I think this is an amazing action figure. I am so glad that I got it. It was just one of those things where they were saying like they're going to do a whole line of Black Series for Kenobi. That show was okay. I had very little interest in any of the action figures except for, I was like, I gotta get a Darth Vader for my shelf, and this one is amazing. It's got really great details, and the soft good cape and robes here really make this action figure look great, because you can really get a good silhouette of Darth Vader, with the cape spread out like that, which is something you wouldn't be able to do with a plastic cape. And there are guys who sell soft good capes for other action figures, and I looked at them, I thought they were cool, but now that I see how a soft good cape can look on a 6-inch action figure, it really makes me wonder like what I could get with for like Doctor Strange or or Cobra Commander or something like that. Something that might be really, 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 really eye popping. So that's something I think I'm going to think about. Um, the Yeah, I mean, just love the details. He's got the perfect texture on his arms and legs. Um, he's got really he feels really sturdy. Um, I was able to get him into a good pose. The other thing that I noticed is I really like the scale of the helmet. Darth Vader's helmet is almost, it's basically massive. I mean, you think about a lot of action figures who have helmets, there's really no room for a human head inside there. And Darth Vader, I mean, obviously, this is modeled after a man in a costume with an actual, I don't know if it's made out of plastic or whatever it is that they make the helmet out of. It's a real thing with a real human head inside of there. So it really did need to be that big in order to kind of fit over someone's head. So, there's that extra realism. The hands are pretty cool. We've got this. I would say, I would call it a kind of a trigger hand. However, you wouldn't have him. You wouldn't have him holding a gun, so it's kind of stretched out using the force, kind of in his like choking, gesture, which is funny because it's basically the same as a trigger hand, more or less. And then he's got his gripping hand over here for his lightsaber. Lightsaber is pretty good. Really good detail, obviously. After you've seen Darth Vader's lightsaber a billion times, it's very, very recognizable. And they did a great job of recreating that. The one thing that I would bitch about is that there's a little notch, a little imperfection on his helmet in the back. Not a total deal breaker, of course, because it's in the back. It's easily hidden, and yeah, man, I really dig this. Really looks great. I totally want to get this on my bookshelf. It's really, really cool. I'm glad I got this. I don't know, I probably have 10 other Darth Vader action figures, and this one is just really, really special. I really love what they've done with that. Yeah, just everything about it is really cool. So, and one of the things that I wanted to, I was thinking about earlier today, and so I decided that this would be a good opportunity to talk about it, and that is, I feel like more recent media has sort of retconned who Darth Vader is, and as much as I like the scene in Rogue One where he just goes, crazy on a bunch of rebel troopers. That's not really who Darth Vader was from, the original trilogy. I mean, Darth Vader is, basically an upper executive, and he wouldn't lower himself to go into and fight in a battle. And I think one of the things that one of the reasons why people would argue against that is because Anakin Skywalker from the prequels would do something like that, and I think that I think there is sort of a retcon effort to make Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker seem like they were the same person. When I watched the prequels, it bothered me that Anakin was not like Darth Vader. And of course you could argue that, he had to become Darth Vader. But I don't think in any part of that prequel did he become Darth Vader. In fact, I feel like Anakin's motivations, even when Anakin went to the dark side, his motivations were different than what Darth Vader, Darth Vader, what he represented as his motivation. Darth Vader clearly stated that, he was drawn to the power, not just that the dark side was powerful, but he was actually drawn to the power and drawn to the idea of becoming powerful. And I think one of the biggest weaknesses for me in episode 3 is that they never really, George Lucas never demonstrated a compelling reason for Anakin Skywalker to become evil, and he also didn't set up a good way of showing that Anakin Skywalker was evil. A proficient writer would have written some character that is in there, a likable character that that Anakin Skywalker would have had to kill, or would have been in a position that would have killed him, and that would have represented his fall to the dark side. Instead, he used a cheap mechanism, and that is, Anakin Skywalker is going to kill a room full of children, and that was how we saw him fall to the dark side. Yes, he also chopped off Mace Windu's arm, but there was a lot of animosity, and I didn't really like Mace Windu's character anyway. So, but there needed to be another character in there that was developed from the very beginning, to end up in this situation where Anakin Skywalker killed them. And then the other part of it is that we had this sort of this motivation set up where he went to the dark side so that he could save Padme. He had a vision that Padme was going to die, and he was convinced that Padme was going to die. And Palpatine said, I can save her. But there was nothing. Anakin never saw Palpatine do anything to make him believe that he could save Padme from death. So, it's a really hard pill to swallow, to think that Anakin's just going to throw everything away so that he could maybe save Padme because some crazy guy told him that. Granted, this crazy guy was the president of the universe or whatever, or the galaxy. But if the president of the galaxy came to me and said, "Hey, I have the power of life and death," I would say, "Hey, prove it," before I buy into this, because otherwise, the narrative just makes Anakin look goofy. He basically just goes to the dark side for basically no reason. And that's my biggest criticism with Revenge of the Sith. Don't get me wrong, I think that's by far the best prequel. Every once in a while, I just have this urge to watch it. There's a lot of really great action, a lot of really cool stuff. But in my mind, Anakin Skywalker was never shown to be anything like Darth Vader. And in sort of a retcon way, Darth Vader, they're making Darth Vader more like Anakin Skywalker to sort of kind of bridge that gap. I think it's not something they're doing consciously, because obviously there are people who don't have a problem with the difference between Anakin and Darth Vader the way that I do, and they kind of already think of them as the same person, so they don't see that Darth Vader, wouldn't do those types of things. But in my mind, I think that Darth Vader would not lower himself to walk into a battle and fight a bunch of foot soldiers. he would definitely enter a battle to fight another Jedi, and then in the Obi-Wan's show where Reva basically like tries to get the jump on him, I definitely think that's the type of thing Darth Vader would do. You know, toy with her and basically kick the crap out of her, which I thought that was great. And and you know, I'm of two minds about the Obi-Wan show because it, in a lot of ways, and like I said, I do like Revenge of the Sith. I like Ewan McGregor's depiction of Obi-Wan. I think he's really fantastic. But uh, you know, but I would have, and I really liked the fact about getting Ewan McGregor back into Star Wars and depicting that character. I think that was really great to see. Really great to see Hayden Christensen back as Anakin. Um, you know, I do think that both those actors, did the best they could with that material, and um, so but in a lot of ways, I think it would have been better to leave those characters alone, and leave that time period alone. I am, I'm really, yeah, I'm really sick of Lucasfilm's formula of like going back to the period between Episode 3 and Episode 4, and um, and um, and just mining that same that same time period. And then the other part of it is that they want to bring back these characters so much that it's like their original stories and their original story arcs kind of mean nothing. I mean, prequels prequels should not exist. If I could just make a rule for Hollywood, don't make any more prequels, because if you're doing a prequel, it's usually because you're like, oh, well, we burned this character and now we want to go back and flesh them out a little more. And I think, like, if you have some more ideas for that character, just create a new character, maybe a similar character, maybe they're dissimilar in a lot of ways, but just come up with a new story that doesn't have the baggage of the old story connected to it. We don't need another Obi-Wan Kenobi show. You want to tell a story about a Jedi on the run, tell a story about a Jedi on the run, or, a force sensitive person or something like that, or, or a soldier or a spy or this or that. You don't need to resurrect a dead character. You don't need to go back to the time period between Episode 3 and Episode 4. I feel like Lucasfilm looks at that time period and says, well, there was 19 years in there, so we got to have 19 movies and 19 shows, and we got to squeeze every last bit of blood out of the time period between Episode 3 and Episode 4, because it just seems like everything that they do falls into that category, except for The Mandalorian and some of the other stuff that they're planning now. So anyway, that's my rant. I really think Lucasfilm just needs to come up with some new ideas. Stop going back to the same characters, and for God's sake, stop going to that same time period. I don't mind if they have a lot of things going along, a lot of things going on in a time period like The Mandalorian, a few years after Return of the Jedi, because I don't mind them creating characters that are going to interact with each other. I think that's something that is missing from Lucasfilm. I mean, you got the prequel period, the original trilogy period, and you got the sequel trilogy. And because of the time jumps between them, you can't really have a lot of those characters interacting with each other. And so I think it limits the kind of the synergies and things that you can have in Star Wars. So, but anyway, that's my little rant on that. But you know, in a lot of ways, I know I need to kind of get over myself. They're gonna tell new stories about the same characters, and things are going to sort of like retcon themselves out of, you know, what was heavily implied. You know, like it was heavily implied that Princess Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi had never met before, and now we have a series where they're running around having adventures. So, you know, what can you do, except for, you know, except for say, I think they could make stronger stories if they didn't continue to do that. Thanks for listening to my rant, and watching my review. What did you think of this Darth Vader Black Series? Um, how does it compare? Like, I'm a newbie to the Black Series. Am I wrong in saying that they seem a little bare as far as you know, as far as an action figure offering? How does this compare to other Darth Vaders that you might have on your shelf? If you didn't get this one, why did you pass on it? And are you, you know, are you thinking about getting it now that you've kind of seen my video, other people's videos? Yeah, what do you guys think? Um, if you like my review, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next one.